Hey everybody, thanks for dropping by. I love our chats. If you're new here, please feel free to hit the subscribe button below and the bell that notifies you when I post. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. So I thought today we would talk about toxic relationships. And we've all had them. We've all seen them. So I want to separate it into a couple categories. So the first one, I want to be sure you understand this. A toxic relationship and a physically abusive relationship are two different things. If you are in a physically abusive relationship, I urge you, I beg you to get help. You call the police, you call the clergy, you call a shelter, whatever you need to do. And I understand that that's not easy because a lot of times along with physical abuse comes financial abuse. And that's something people don't talk about. There was a lady at my work and I didn't know her. She worked in another office, but we all knew of her afterwards. She was in a physically abusive relationship. She worked as a nurse. She had money, so we all thought. People that worked with her said they knew something was wrong, but if they asked her, she didn't come forth with it, and nobody wanted to press because it's none of our business. She was financially abused. Every penny she had that was coming in went into his bank account, not hers. He monitored every cent she spent. She had 2 children. And I think you all figure out how this story ended. He killed her. And everybody stood around and said, what could we have done? What should we have done? And my biggest thing, if you know someone in an abusive relationship, don't be nice. Push them. Get them to talk to you. Tell them you'll help them. If you can't physically take them in, which can be difficult, especially if there's children involved, then offer to take them to a shelter. Offer to get them help. If you are currently in that kind of a relationship and you think that you can't get help, you're in too deep, the hold is too deep, he'll never let you go, or she'll never let you go, they'll never let you go. I know quite a few people who got out and thought the exact same thing. I know one lady with 6 children, and she was very afraid. She didn't have a great education. She didn't have a lot of job prospects. But when she saw one of her sons push her daughter the same way her husband was pushing her, she thought, this has to stop. I have to break this cycle. Fast forward 10 years, she owned her own home. Her children were flourishing. She had a job. She was thriving. She was working at a shelter counseling other women. Things change. Things can always get better. They do. And you do not deserve any of the treatment that you are getting. I understand that this is a hard topic to talk about and to listen to, but I can't talk about toxic relationships without mentioning abusive relationships, because a lot of people think they're interchangeable. I'll get to that in a minute. And again, guys, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. This is what I've learned in my life. That's all. But you deserve to be helped. You deserve happiness. You deserve peace. You do not deserve to be hurt. You do not deserve to be beaten, to be controlled, to be belittled. None of it. I urge you to get help. Google your area's crisis centers. They will get you in touch with someone, I promise you. Okay? Now, let's talk about toxic relationships. And we've all had these or seen them. And they can be very insidious. People don't realize at first how damaging they are. I find toxic people are very good at reading others. They are able to find your weakness. They are able to find your self-doubt and your insecurities, and they prey upon it. It's hard to stand up for yourself sometimes, especially when the person prefaces it with the following statements. I'm just being honest. I'm only trying to help you. This is constructive criticism. I didn't know you were so sensitive. Please don't get hysterical. Any of these sound familiar? Those are signs of toxic relationships, okay? We all have the friendships, and if you're young or older, but I do find the younger ones, and for me, I'm 56 babies. Anybody under 30 is the younger ones. If you have a friend who talks to you about other people, they're talking about you too, okay? That's something you should know. Remember I said an easy way to get through life is never say anything behind someone's back you won't say to their face. But you also know people that will lie and gaslight you. Gaslight has become a new phrase. It's from way back, a Hitchcock movie, where a husband convinces his wife she's losing her mind. So now what it seems to mean to people is convincing you that you're in the wrong when you're not. And we get a lot of that. I find the medical community can do that to you a lot too. But that's neither here nor there. But with friendships, are they really your friend if they make you feel bad? Are they really your friend if you're constantly making excuses for them? Are they really your friend if you find yourself avoiding them or not wanting them around? Now, toxic relationships as far as romantic, those can be more difficult because, love is involved and it gets complicated. But if someone is isolating you from your other friends and family, that's a big red flag. If someone is constantly criticizing you, a red flag. If someone is making you cry, big red flag. There's a meme that I saw and I loved it. And it said, always be with someone who ruins your lipstick, not your mascara. I believe that. If all these red flags add up, you need to put yourself first. You need to say, I'm worth more than this. Now, I'm not saying walk out right away, because we're talking about friends and romantic. It's not always that easy. I always say, have a frank conversation with the person. Ask them not to speak while you're speaking. If that happens, record what you want to say and play it for them. I say not to put it in writing because those can be manipulated, but if you want to, do that too. Give them a chance to acknowledge their behavior and to change their behavior. A lot of times with toxicity, I believe is the word, it's learned. They grew up with it. They know no other difference. Criticizing someone is the way you show them you love them. That's in their mind. If it's damaging you, tell them to go and get help and to come back to you when they're better. You don't need to walk through it with them. It's a huge, huge issue that they'll have to deal with. And you can support them as a friend, but you do not have to deal with all of the baggage that they have, okay? Another form of, hi Bella, another form of toxic relationships, thank you, Bells, is family. And that one's a difficult one because we grow up with that. And they're our family. And they're our family forever. And this one's hard because there are some times where you're going to have to say, I love you, but I cannot have you in my life the way you are right now. It's hurting me. It damages our relationship. It's hurting my family, my spouse, my children. And again, give them a chance to change. They may. My mother could be a toxic person. My father could be a toxic person. My mother especially was the person that when she knew better, she did better. And she constantly tried to do better. So she learned. And by the time she was a grandmother, oh my gosh, she was old Mother Hubbard. She was a great family person. She didn't have that toxicity. And my mother, I used to cut her a lot of slack at my expense because I knew how badly abused she had been as a child. Like the kind they make movies about. But at the same time, it was at my expense. It was at my self-esteem. It was telling myself I'm not as important as anybody else. And it messed with me because I learned that self-care and taking care of yourself and saying you're just as good as anyone else was a selfish thing to do. It made you a bad person. It doesn't. You have a right to be happy. You have a right to be treated well. You have a right to love and be loved. Healthfully. I'm not saying leave all these relationships. It may come to that, guys. Like, you deserve to be at peace with your relationships. You do not deserve to be treated badly. If you're watching this and you're wondering, am I a toxic person? Do I have toxic tendencies? There's something you can work on, okay? Personally, I don't think toxic people really ask themselves that question, but there were times I found myself gossiping about others just for attention's sake when I was in my 20s. And, you know, I really regret that. I don't like that person. I have made friends with that person. I have forgiven that person. Sometimes you have to look at your past self and say, I'm going to love you. Whether you want me to or not, I'm going to forgive you. And I'm going to make amends for any wrongs that you did. But that doesn't mean that you deserve any badness towards yourself from anyone else, okay? That's not how life works. So with a toxic relationship, and like I said, there's friendships, there's romantic, and there's family. There's also work relationships. Oh my gosh, I worked with one of the most toxic people on the planet for years. And we were all afraid of her, like literally. And I think about how I should have handled it now. And my work environment changed quite a bit. When I started working with this person, there was no such thing as workplace civility policies. There was no place considered harassment. There was nothing in the way of a place to go to say, this person frightens me while I'm at work. I can't concentrate because this person is flipping out at somebody on the phone. Nowadays, there's places to go, there's people that you can report to, things you can do. If that person happens to be your boss, now we're getting into really complicated parts, especially if you're not in a union or you're not in a large company where you can transfer or you can ask to work under someone else. But you do have to look in the mirror every night and tell yourself, I am worth more than this. I deserve more than this. I matter more than this. Okay? And I really do want you to look in the mirror and say that to yourselves. And I know some of you roll your eyes every time I say that. Don't think Auntie Angel can't see you. I can. But Bella's fur is all over my face now. But the one thing I want you to know is that you guys are so special. And you are so worthy and deserving. And every happiness should come to you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm sorry today's video was such a heavy topic. It was requested, and you know, it is a topic we should talk about. We're always talking about mental health and how to help ourselves and how to help each other. So yeah, and if you do know somebody in these kind of relationships, make sure they know you're an ear, a non-judgmental ear, because it may take the person 3 or 4 tries to do what they need to do, you know, and to be healthy and safe. So I think that's it for today. I will do a video tonight of reading you to sleep. I really like doing those. I like the whisper, and I'm really getting some positive feedback on the personal attention video that I posted last night. So I'll definitely be doing more of that. And also, guys, I love the comments. It really helps me to feel connected to you. So in the comments down there, let me know if there's something you'd like me to talk about. I'm also thinking, I got so much positive feedback and only 1 negative on doing your makeup for Pride. So let me know if you want me to do something else for that. I was kind of thinking of Auntie Angel talks to parents about Pride and how to be more accepting. Let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in, and I'll see what I can do. Okay? So as always, my angels, I love you, I value you, I honor you, and I'm so very, very glad that you were born.